From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the Primetime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I hope you are feeling the same. It is Wednesday. What is it? February the 22nd? Yeah, man, we are just scooting through 2023, man. So, pretty much it is what it is. We have ourselves a great show coming up today. We have a lot to talk about. Up first, let's go ahead and jump into some little bit of news. This is the news wire today in the NFL offseason world. Derek Carr is getting a lot of the headlines right now as available quarterback, but Lamar Jackson has just as big as a headline as well, too. Lamar Jackson and Ravens are at a standstill on contract extension at this moment. There's a lot of things going back and forth, but I would say this. I would say the media is more putting perception on this thing. If you guys remember back about a decade ago when Joe Flacco was the starter for the Baltimore Ravens, where he was the de facto starter, nobody's to replacing Joe Flacco. He's their guy, blase, blase, blase. Joe Flacco went through the same exact thing when it came to how much should we be paying this guy. And they've wound up meeting in the middle, and everything got settled. Lamar loves Baltimore. Baltimore loves Lamar, okay? The Ravens are not at an impasse about paying him. The Ravens want to make sure that they're investing in something that's more long-term and not short-term at this moment. And the money that he's asking for is a pretty penny compared to what they truly feel he's worth. He wants a completely guaranteed contract. I'm thinking that they can make it a big number for him to where it's going to be very feasible for him. He wants to have the same type of deal that Patrick Mahomes has moving forward. He feels that he's the same type of quarterback and that this investment should be made. And I think that he has a good point with this because the Ravens don't want to start over in the quarterback position. They're already a team that kind of has an idea how they want their quarterback position to be. They want to have a scrambling quarterback that kind of enhances the running game. So then they can run clock and really invest more into the defense. So I know that's where they're having their headache at because they don't want to allocate too much money to one position. They want to make sure that they still have enough money in the bank to sign up elite defensive guys or be able to re-sign those elite defensive guys that they've drafted. So, you want to keep a continuity of a team in the correct direction. The Ravens are the one team that's fortunate enough in the NFL that consistently wins. You know what I mean? They don't win titles, but they consistently can win 10 games a season, okay? And Lamar is a big part of that. When Lamar stepped on, the Ravens weren't even in a playoff position. He turned them into the most exciting team in the league. Then the next season, he goes off and gets the MVP as the most exciting player. Ever since that point and ever since that Tennessee game, there's been nothing but doubts about Lamar Jackson. To me, Lamar Jackson does nothing on Sunday but deliver. Yes, when he has a bad game, it's very obvious that he had a bad game because his style of play. So if he has a bad day, it's going to really show up. But when he has a great day, he's put on some of the most epic performances in the NFL today. So literally, he's asking for this price because he knows what he brings to the table. He knows that the fans show up to root on Lamar. He knows that he's a key piece to this team winning football games moving forward. And he just knows that at the end of the day, that this is where he wants to be. And this is the team that will pay him the amount that he's truly worth. You know what I mean? If he goes somewhere else, they can overpay for him, but the pressure will be on, just like the pressure's on Russell Wilson right now, just like the pressure was on Matt Ryan as well too. They want you to be able to perform right away. Now, with the Baltimore Ravens, they have an idea what they're dealing with. They have an idea what they're dealing with them injury-wise as well, too. So this is why they'll meet in the middle and make this happen. I do not see Lamar Jackson leaving Baltimore. People are already saying that they don't even have a quarterback. They do have a quarterback. It's Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson should be their quarterback for the next 5 to 7 years at least. You know what I mean? So let's just get that out of our head. And you guys got to stop listening to media people that have their own idea about where they want these players to go. They don't know exactly what the dealings are that are going on here. It's all a lot of hearsay. Baltimore and Lamar are in contact literally every day. They're going to make this happen. It will happen before they get to training camp, so there won't be any distractions. The Ravens do business the right way. I trust that they'll continue to do business the right way, and I trust that Lamar Jackson will still be a part of their team as well, too. But there is going to have to be some type of addition of a playmaker somewhat to make this happen. So Lamar might need to kind of take a little bit of a step back to make sure to ensure that they can bring in a big time playmaker, which will become available. And we'll know this in the next few weeks. You know what I mean? Because there's other guys that are chasing money right now and their teams don't want to pay them. So they just haven't came to fruition yet, but they will very soon. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward to our next topic, and let's go ahead and jump into the draft. Edge rushers. Why the edge rusher is the most coveted position in the draft? Well, because the quarterback's the most coveted position in the game. So you got to get these good edge rushers early, these freak of natures, these guys that can deliver. And the biggest thing about these edge rushers this year is this group is the group that truly does stand out. Like literally, the top 4 guys are in the top 50. Okay. And well, actually, the top 7 guys, top 8 guys are in the top 50 this year. When it comes to just overall best players in the draft, Will Anderson, the number 1 overall player. Will Anderson had a better sophomore season than he had his junior year, because you guys all know that he was a 3-year starter. And as a sophomore, he was absolutely tremendous. Their team did not win. Their team was the runner-up in the national championship, but he was able to get 17 and a half sacks. That was good for 108 yards. He also had 3 passes defensed as well, too. And that was just a really, really good thing to see. And Will Anderson actually had 102 total tackles his sophomore year. Everything was really about his sophomore year. Now, when it comes down to it, he did miss a few games his junior year, but he still was able to have a 10-sack season as well. He only got 54 yards on that bad boy, but he did see a lot of double teams and things of that nature. But then he showed his overall skills as well, too. He had 2 pass defenses, and he got his first ever career interception in college. So, you know, Will Anderson is a can't-miss guy at the end of the day. I truly don't see him not going number 1. I know that Chicago wants to trade out. They want to do this. They want to do that. But Chicago knows this as well, too, that their best teams have always had the best pass rusher in the league. And they need to get back to that. And this is the guy that can do that, okay? And he can be very versatile from what you can see as well. He's 6'4", 243 pounds. That's kind of, freakish in a sense, you know what I mean? 245, 6'4", and you're moving pretty well as well, too. We'll see more when it comes down to his 40 time, but I think that he's a guy that is going to be really intriguing. But the guy that really catches my eye is Andre Carter out of Army. Andre Carter has a NBA player's wingspan, you know what I mean? Long wingspan, 6'7", 260, very disciplined player as well, too. Had a great game in the Armed Forces Bowl against Missouri, racking up some solo tackles there. He's a 4-year, he was a 3-year starter, and he played 4 years here. Now, he had another guy who had an exceptional junior season where he had 15 and a half sacks and 18.5 tackles for loss in that category. He's a natural defensive end from what you can see here. He didn't have the greatest season this year with 3.5 sacks and for only 21 yards, but he still was a guy that could get in the backfield. And Army didn't have the greatest season as a team, so it does make a little bit of sense. So pretty much, and you guys got to understand that their team spends a lot of time on the field offensively. So him getting 15.5 sacks his junior year is significant to me. And I just feel like his size says that he can be somebody who can disrupt a lot of things, and he's very athletic for this team as well too. When you look at this guy, and you just feel like he can be the right one. You know, he got 2 interceptions while he was in college. He also had he also is pretty good at defending the passes, but he forced 4 fumbles in his junior year as well too, and recovered and had himself a block. So you look at this and you say to yourself, this guy is a guy that will not probably be going in the top 10, but he is a guy that will be going in, I would say the top 25. And I think that he'll be a impact player right away. Now, the guy who really does stand out to me is Tyree Wilson. Tyree Wilson, 6'6", 275, went to Texas Tech. You know, it's kind of a conference to where, you know, it's kind of an offensive conference, but this guy was able to stand out on the defensive end as well, too. And he just got all the measurables in the size. You know what I mean? And I think that he could be a good fit for any team looking for an edge rusher in the top 10 that's not Chicago. I think Will Anderson really will have to go number 1 in this draft. Now, when you look at it, he had 7 sacks this season. He had 7 sacks last season as well, too. He might be jumping the gun a little bit. He could have stayed another year because there's more to you that meets the eye. But I think that the upside of this guy is going to be incredible. So I think what comes down to it is that, you know, you just want to make the move, and he's making the move at the right time. So I feel like this is a draft that really does need where guys understand that the top edge rushers will be very significant to it. So I truly do feel that this one will wind up being a very, very good draft all in all. So I truly do feel that when it comes down to this group, you're going to have guys that are just going to really stand out. And the reason why it's so needed is because, as you can see, the quarterback is the most important position in sports, period, point blank. All they talk about is Patrick Mahomes and what he does and what he can do, and Joe Burrow, what he can do, Josh Allen, what he can do. But then when you got guys, then when you have these teams that have these significant pass rushers like the Aaron Donalds of the world, you know what I mean? And pretty much, you know, J.J. Watt in his prime, T.J. Watt. When you got guys like this, they put your defense on a whole different level. And when you can put your defense on a whole different level, it doesn't really matter on who your quarterback is, as long as they can manage the offense. So we can all look at San Francisco as a great example of what defense can bring you and what you can do at the quarterback position. All you need is a guy who can manage. That's it. And a lot of these teams that have these really talented over the top quarterbacks that everybody's in love with, all pretty much have shaky defenses at the same time too. So at the end of the day, they're literally bailing these guys out all the time. So that's why they get all the accolades. But when you got a great defense behind you and they're always doing their job, they're going to make things a lot easier for you. So it's up to the offense not to mess it up. And a lot of these teams know that you don't draft a quarterback right in if you already have a quarterback in the tops. You know what I mean? The quarterback class is good, but it's a need this year. It's not a luxury at all. You know what I mean? It's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. And that's why. Last year, a lot of teams didn't need quarterbacks, so you didn't have a quarterback get drafted in the top 10. And I think that the number will keep decreasing over the years as they keep adding quarterbacks. It's just a need. It's not that these quarterbacks are phenomenal at the end of the day. But these defensive edge guys, these guys do a little bit more than just sacking the quarterback. They all can be vital pieces to a defense that's just missing that key piece. So it is what it is, and we move forward from there. Let's go ahead and talk about Paris Johnson. Paris Johnson is a guy that stands out a lot to me, a guy that has some great measurables to him as well. Big man. You know what I mean? The guy is a stud. He sits at about, I think, 6'9", and he's just a guy that is just, he's already a very articulate person, as is very smart. And he's actually 6'6". He's 6'6", 310, and he's from Cincinnati. But he's a very eloquent guy. You know what I mean? He's a very, very good guy. He was the anchor of the offensive line, who was number 6 nationally. They only gave up 7 sacks last season. Also helped lead Ohio State, helped with getting them 63 touchdowns this year, and they were third in red zone offense. Ohio State averaged 501.9 yards per game. He was a part of that offensive line as well, too. He already has a foundation for the armed forces as well, too. So the thing is that he's a smart guy. He majored in journalism. He also came back around, and he could have left early, but he didn't. And he stuck around to play for the Buckeyes. And he's a guy that can play multiple positions on the offensive line. So you don't have to start him off right away at tackle if you don't want to. But I truly do feel that he's a guy that you really do have to take a little bit more seriously here, as considering him maybe the top pick in the draft, because the Bears need an offensive lineman. Okay, the Bears truly do need an offensive lineman. The edge rusher would be great to have as well, too, but they can find themselves an edge rusher either in the free agent market or in the later rounds, because this is a stacked draft of them. But when it comes to guys like this, Paris Johnson is a guy that the Bears should really take a long look at. He's a guy that they don't have to force themselves to draft number 1. You have a team in the Colts that are probably desperate to move into that number 1 spot so they can secure Bryce Young. From what I'm hearing, they are in love with Bryce Young. But I know that they have it in the back of their head that we're in love with them, but we're hearing that, Houston's in love with CJ Stroud, so we might not need to commit so much to get him. I still think that you figure out a way to say, let's play it safe. Let's get the Heisman. So if they have the scenario to where they're able to go from 1st to 4th, Paris Johnson has to be your guy. I know drafting Paris Johnson at number 1 seems a little much, but Paris Johnson to me presents he's not as great as Orlando Pace. Orlando Pace was a can't miss, can't bust player. It's that simple. But when you drop it down a little bit lower, you start thinking about guys like Eric Fisher, Lane Johnson, guys like that who have 12, 13-year careers, Joe Thomas. These guys are elite tackles, but at the same time, too, it doesn't take much to be an elite tackle, in my opinion. You just have to show up to your job and do your job every day and be durable. You just can't get hurt. That's really what it is at the end of the day. Don't get hurt. Do as much as you can to protect the quarterback, and don't get called for a bunch of holding calls, and you'll be one of the top offensive linemen in the league. And I think that this is a safe pick for Chicago, and it's moving them in the right direction, because now they're bringing in a valet. They're bringing some more bodyguards for their quarterback. If their quarterback is gonna think about having any type of future, they have to figure out a way to protect them. And I think that a lot of us overlook this position, but it's one of the more important positions in the game. If coaches really could do what they wanted to do, linemen would be probably 3 out of the first 5 picks in the draft. But they have to draft needs, and they have to draft players that hit home runs for them. You know what I mean? You have to get the big-time quarterback. You have to get the big-time edge rusher. You have to get the big-time receiver, because they bring the excitement. But when you bring an offensive lineman, what you're saying is that you're building, but you might not be building as fast as everybody wants you to. But most times, these players are immediate impacts, and that's what the Chicago Bears need, is a guy that's an immediate impact. And I think that Paris Johnson really does fit the bill for being the Bears' first pick in the draft. It doesn't have to be the first overall pick, but if they are to trade out of it, I would say you have to take Paris Johnson. I think that the Raiders literally need to get their head off of a quarterback, and this needs to be number 1 priority, because he can slip to the 7th spot. But I'm saying the other fit is with the Chicago Bears. He has a history with Justin Fields as well, too. They played together previously. They loved playing together as well. And I think that this could be something that works out for everybody at the end of the day. So, I say Raiders or Bears is the perfect fit for this guy, but there might be a team smart enough to get him before both those teams even think about it. And I would say that the Cardinals have an opportunity at getting him as well too. He's already rated in the top 10, but knowing how they grade offensive linemen, he'll move up. They have him slated at 7th to the Raiders, but I think he can move up just a little bit. And I think that his talent actually outweighs what is in front of him in the quarterback position when it comes down to what the Raiders really need. If the Raiders probably will not get a chance at CJ Stroud without giving up a lot of stock, okay? And I truly keep thinking that the best option for the Raiders is to get Jimmy G and draft Hendon Hooker in the 2nd round. It all really makes a lot of sense to me that this could work out for him. And literally, you can have a quarterback to develop for the next season up under Jimmy G, or for the next few seasons up under Jimmy G as he gets acclimated to the game. You know what I mean? Because the Raiders are in a win now type of situation. If you want to win now, you draft Paris Johnson. Bears are in a kind of a win now situation as well too. You draft Paris Johnson. That's how I feel. That's how it looks to me moving forward. But all in all, Will Anderson is really tough to resist. And I think that all in all, if he does not get drafted by the Bears, he'll wind up still in the top 3 and wind up probably in Arizona of all places. But Houston could surprise us and go after him as well too, because you know how they are about those edge rushers as well. So let's go ahead and move into our next topic in hand, and that's going to be about some boxing. And we got some boxing coming up on Sunday. Actually, we got some boxing coming up all weekend as well too. We got fights tomorrow night, we got fights Friday night, we got fights Saturday night. So there's a lot going on in the boxing world. So you have Jake Paul preparing for a long-awaited war with Tommy Fury in Saudi. How will it play out? Tommy Fury is absolutely furious with Jake Paul. With all the talking and all the craziness Jake has came his way. And it's funny to me that I sat about 4 years ago in Miami and I saw Jake win his first fight. I interviewed Jake the day before. You usually don't get to interview guys the day before their fight and things like that, maybe 2 days before his fight. But they brought him to the Super Bowl, and it wasn't a big deal. They brought him to the Super Bowl radio row. It wasn't a big deal. Literally, people were kind of avoiding interviewing Jake Paul. You know what I mean? And I couldn't believe it because I was like, isn't he like the biggest YouTube person going? And I didn't know much about him either. But we sat down. You guys can watch the interview on Fanatics View as well too. And we sat down, and this is no cap. This is no butter up. I told him that I loved everything he was doing, and I believed in him. And I felt like he could do some big things in this boxing world as long as he dedicates himself. He appreciated every word of that. And I remember after he won that fight, I was the only reporter that was able to get an exclusive interview with him right after the fight. And he came up and gave me the biggest hug ever after and said, "Thank you so much for believing in me." And literally, I've been a Jake Paul fan ever since. You know what I mean? Because I've actually met the real Jake Paul, a really, really good guy. And I think that Jake Paul is doing everything out of the Shawn Michaels, Triple H, The Rock playbook. Literally, he's talking the most trash that he can talk. He's selling fights. It's that simple. He got the boxing world in arms about him being able to get all this attention. The reason why he's able to get all this attention, because he's not scared of what he's going to say. That's the whole thing. And he already knows how to market himself, from his years of doing YouTube, doing Disney, things like that. These guys know how to go ahead and get to the masses. And he knows that to sell a fight, you got to talk some shit. You straight up, you gotta really ruffle some feathers. You gotta hurt some feelings. You gotta get people up in arms. And I feel like Jake has done a perfect job of doing that. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not serious right now, but it's getting serious. Yeah, everybody had the excuses before. Oh, he's fighting washed up basketball players. He's fighting YouTubers. Then he fought Anderson Silva, who a decade ago was considered the baddest man on the planet in either MMA or boxing. And he winds up knocking him down. Yeah, he's 50, but still, he knocked him down. Anderson Silva's supposed to have he's supposed to knock this boy out, right? Ben Askren. Ben Askren was a wrestler, But Ben Askren is an athlete too, and he's has more years fighting. Jake Paul ended him in like what, a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And then, Tyron Woodley was actually a guy who gave him a little bit of a scrap. And that's because Tyron Woodley wanted to send a message. And what he did was he made Jake a better fighter. They fought again. Jake knocked him out. Tommy Fury has ducked Jake twice. He's first time he couldn't get up. First time some type of mysterious injury happened, or he just couldn't make weight. I don't know what happened. It's just some excuse. And then the second time, he was supposed to come over and fight him they were supposed to fight again at MSG. They had the big location. They had the big moment. And Tommy Fury figured out a way to not come to America. He said that they wouldn't let him in, which was absolutely, utterly BS as well, too. So now they meet up in Saudi, and the money and you can't pass the money up. It's that simple. The guy just had a kid. And I just feel like what happens here is that Jake Paul may have his defining moment as a boxer. This is the biggest fight of his short career right now. And Jake Paul can make a lot of movement in the game if he knocks out Tyson Fury's little brother. All right. And I truly do feel that this one right here is a lot of pressure because he's now dealing with Top Rank. Top Rank is boxing. You know what I mean? They are boxing. Now he's on ESPN. That's a big deal. Now the Jake Paul put up or shut up situation is here. And I think that at the end of the day, win or lose, he's still going to continue. He's still going to be able to get people to come watch him fight. And he's still going to make people mad and more mad each and every day. So the way I see this fight playing out is that Jake Paul is going to get in here and he's going to take advantage of an angry man. And he's going to catch Tommy Fury slipping at some point in this fight. And I think and most likely he'll cut the lights out. But I think that Jake could probably win the decision. But I really do think that Jake does need to knock him out to send that I'm coming for real message. Because if it goes to the cards and it's kind of close and Jake wins, they're going to say that he cheated Tommy. It's that simple. Shit, he can dominate Tommy and they're going to still say that he somewhat cheated if it has to go to those cards. You know what I mean? So emphatic knockout would be the absolute thing that Jake Paul needs to really, really put himself over the top. This right here is Jake Paul getting all the way over in boxing because now people respect where he's coming from. I've seen it all over Twitter that they really, okay, now we respect it because he's fighting a real guy, and the real guy is the one that's actually not taking him as seriously as he should. So it is what it is. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. And when we get back, we're going to be talking some Yankees baseball. And then we're going to be talking some the top games today in college basketball as well, too. So you guys stay tuned. This is the Premier Sports Betting Show, the PrimeTime Angles with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, and I'll be right back at you.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners, and I'll have another in Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We got ourselves the Yankees. It's Yankee Day today. Says, this week is all about the AL East, 30 teams in 30 days. So it's going to be about 6 weeks. It'll be 30 teams, 30 days, 6 weeks. You know how it goes. But yeah, we have ourselves a very fun situation here with the Yankees this season. 30 teams, 30 days. Yankees are looking really. The Yankees look. When you look at the Yankees lineup, it's just like, wow, Yankees, they're good. They're really good this year. And I think that a lot of us have to understand that you have to take the Yankees very, 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 very seriously this year, because the Yankees are a team that's playing on a level where it can't be about just being the Yankees. They really need to show up this year, because there's just a lot of things that it's about time. That's the thing with the Yankees. It's about time. Because I'm looking at their pitching staff right now, and this might be the best 5 that the Yankees have had in some years. You know what I mean? So last year, the Yankees won the NL East 90 and only won 99 games last year. But people had to understand this. The Yankees had the best record in baseball. Them and the Dodgers were neck to neck, and they were about 2 games better than the Dodgers last year at one point. And let's keep it real. The Yankees I think they only lost about 19 games before we got to the All-Star break. The Yankees only won so many games in the second half of the season. It was a tale of 2 teams. They were the hottest team in the league the first half of the season. Second half of the season, they were very middling with a below 500 record. You know what I mean? And literally they had to scrape themselves to the finish at the end. I felt like the Yankees dealt with so many injuries at the wrong time that even though they did win a playoff series, it still didn't matter, because they weren't going to beat Houston. And they couldn't beat Houston because Houston has a better bullpen. They can go pitcher for pitcher in reality. But let's keep it real. The Astros just have a better bullpen, and they're just a little bit more of a disciplined team at this point. The Yankees have the better roster. Let's just keep it real. But when it comes down to the intangibles, it's all about the Astros, okay? And the Yankees have finally got it. You know what I mean? The Yankees have a official pitching staff this year, in my opinion. You got Garrett Cole acing it up. Then you add Carlos Rodon, who was one of the better pitchers in baseball last year, and it was an absolute gem to get. You get Luis Severino back, healthy. That should be a plus as well, too. You have Nestor Cortez as well, too, coming back, and he's going to be healthy as well. And then Domingo German will be healthy as well, too. And all these guys were above 500 last year. And probably the worst ERA is German, and that's 4.29. That's not bad at all. But Carlos Rodon is the biggest piece to me. And then you still got you have Stanton. I think Stanton's going to have a way better season than what they're projecting, because he's going to be more DH than anything. They got him hitting 31 home runs with 82 RBIs and 242 average. I think this year, if he's able to be a little bit more disciplined at the plate and not just be swinging at just everything, because that's always been Stanton's problem, in my opinion. They are projected to strike out 150 times. If he has more patience this year, I think that he can probably get walked a little bit more. He's a guy that needs to figure out how he can get 100 walks this year. That will be a way more valuable service to the Yankees than anything. And I think that it just comes down to how they approach him, how they approach what they want him to do in spring training. It's that simple, in my opinion. And I think that Aaron Judge, who's projected to have another MVP type season, 45 home runs, 111 RBIs, 108 runs, literally is seen as about to have another big season, 285 average. If they can get him to cut down on his strikeouts as well, too, they have him projected to strike out almost 170 times this year. If you can get Stanton and Judge to get more walks, because yeah, Judge is going to get his fair share of walks. They got him projected to get 93. Now, if you can get these guys both to say walk 80 times plus, this will probably add more runs to the Yankees add more runs to the Yankees scores. And this will, at the end of the day, be an overall better look for the Yankees. Instead of winning 99 games this year, they might win 105. But the Yankees just have to do the little things. And I think their X factor will be Harrison Bader. Harrison Bader was really good with the St. Louis Cardinals. Now he's with the Yankees, fully healthy. And when they did have him in there, he did show some signs of being a big-time player for the Yankees. Josh Donaldson, a guy who was giving the Yankees fits for years in Toronto, now he's the third baseman, batting in the fifth hole behind Stanton. It should be good. But somebody who needs to really have themselves a season is Anthony Rizzo, because he's right between Stanton and Judge. Like, literally, there's no fail point here. I think Anthony Rizzo could be an MVP candidate if he takes advantage of batting in between two of the best power hitters in the league. The Yankees, when you look at 2, 3, 4, though, they got 3 guys that can hit 30-plus home runs this year in that group. And the Yankees really need to figure out what's going to make them really go this year. The Yankees are in the driver's seat to be in the World Series, in my opinion. I feel like the Astros will regress a little bit this year because everybody kind of knows how to come at them now. You know what I mean? I think the Phillies showed us a few things that were very helpful when it comes to playing the Astros. But I truly do think that the Yankees this year is a ring or bust year, because if they don't win a ring, then they're going to start getting rid of some of these core guys that are there, in my opinion. So let's see what this is all about. The Yankees look like a team that can win 100 games or better this year, but it's all up to how their approach is and how they're going to stack this bullpen up as well too. And really, I think they need a better closer as well too. Chapman is good, but you need a guy that goes out there, bang, 1, 2, 3. Not a guy that goes out there 1, 2, and then I'm going to let 3 guys on base, and then we're going to make this more of a headache than it needs to be. You know what I mean? You need to have a guy, snap, 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 bang, 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 and I'm out of here. You know what I mean? We'll see how it goes. But the Yankees, it's all about what they have in the back end and being healthy. If the Yankees can have both of those, the Yankees are going to be literally unbeatable, in my opinion. Well, at least in the American League. So that's that. That's 30 teams in 30 days. And my prediction for the Yankees is going over 95.5 games this year, okay? The Yankees will go over 95.5 games this year, and it is a minus 125 on the money as well, too. So there it is. There it is. The New York Yankees as your NL East winner once again, in my opinion, okay? And I think you're probably going to get like minus 170 on that, minus 160 on that future of them winning. So we got the CBB Top Games for today, and CBB Top Games, and good games today as well. You know what I mean? Very, very good games today. And I do like what I see here. So we're going to start off with Providence 20-7 at UConn 20-7. Number 18 versus number 20. This is an old-fashioned Northeast big-time game. UConn and Providence been going at it for years. They are de facto rivals here in the Big East as well, too. They're not too far away from each other, Rhode Island and UConn. You have Providence coming here 20-7. UConn's 20-7. UConn just coming off of a good win against Seton Hall on Saturday. That was huge for them. Providence is coming off of another big home win on Saturday as well. We know that the last time these two teams met, it was a very, very it was a chess match, and Providence wound up winning because Providence just knows how to win at home. They're like, literally, I don't think they've lost a game at home yet in conference play. I'm looking at it right now to confirm if I'm right, and I am. They haven't lost one game in conference play at home, okay? The one game that they did lose at home, I don't even think they was at home. They played against TCU. And, yeah, that game was actually in Fort Worth, so that wasn't a home game. So, pretty much I'm looking at it right now. This team is really, really, really playing on a whole nother level, in my opinion, when it comes down to how they are at home. But they've only really won their last 3 out of 5, and 2 of those losses came on the road. So They've had their road struggles this year. They've had 4 losses on the road in conference play. So they're going against UConn, who's really trying to put themselves in a good spot. And I'm sorry about that. UConn's actually the number 18 team, while Providence is the number 20 team. So fire that guy who's in charge. Oh, that's me. So I can't fire myself. So pretty much Providence, like I said, they've won their last 3 out of 5, including their last 2 in a row. So those were both home games. Last time they were on the road, they lost by 5 to St. John's. So, tonight is critical, but UConn wants to keep this thing going. UConn had a little stretch where they had lost 5 out of 6. Since then, they've actually won their last 5 out of 7. Now, they've had their road woes. This is where they keep losing at, is on the road. They lost to Creighton last Saturday by 3. Then they had a whole week off and wound up winning by 9 against Seton Hall. Now they get back Providence, who beat them by 12 early in January. So this one is a good revenge game, because this is probably the only game where that was one of the first games that they really got it handed to them. You know what I mean? Because they had came in and they lost 2 in a row after starting the season off 10-0. All right, well, 12-0, something like that. So pretty much they started the season off 14-0. So you know what time it is. These guys have not played as well as they should. So they've only won 7. They've only won since that point, going 14-0. They're 6-7. So, UConn has kind of been going through it, and it's been tough. It's really tough, because this team is now sitting at 5th, 9-7 in conference play as well. But all their losses come in conference play. Providence, on the other hand, 12-4 in conference play. That's because they've won all their home games. So when I look at this one, I think Providence does come into this game, and they're going to make this game really, really tough on the Huskies tonight. Do they win the game? I don't know. But I think Providence does cover the game. I think the Huskies wind up winning the game, but they win a very, very strategic and close game, because Providence has been having some really close games with, teams that they're not supposed to, especially on the road. And then after you saw what happened last night in the Nova Xavier game, that we're playing really intense basketball right now in the Big East. So I like the plus 7.5 tonight with Providence. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. This should be a good one. It's coming on 3:30 Pacific time, 6:30 Eastern time. So let's move on and let's get into a different type of matchup today. We're going to go to a mid-major, and that's going to be in the Sun Belt. This is a good matchup. We got Marshall coming in 23-6, and then you have James Madison 20-9, a team that moved over to a bigger conference after so many years of being in the Colonial Conference. So they moved over to the Sun Belt with the football team. So because they're now a FBS school instead of being an FCS school. So that was huge, because James Madison actually made their impact in football, and they're making a big impact here in basketball, which a sport they were always good at as well too. So James Madison is showing that that they can compete with these boys. You know what I mean? And pretty much what I can see going into this game, you got a Marshall team that came from Conference USA, so you got a lot of Sun Belt is becoming a very, very good conference. You know what I mean? When you look at it, it's a very competitive day going on, because you got an Old Dominion Southern Mississippi game that's going to be pretty good as well too. 2 former Conference USA teams. So you have this Marshall team that's won 4 games in a row, and they've won 3 out of 4 of those games by double digits. Last time they lost was to Louisiana Lafayette by 10 on February 4th. Now, this team has won their last 6 out of 8. And before that, they had won 5 in a row. So they've actually won their last 11 out of 13 after kind of a shaky start and a shaky moment in time when they were 3-3 at one point. But Marshall's had a really good season most of the year. And when you look at what their situation is, they're number 2 in the conference. They're 12-4 right now, 23-6, second best overall record in the conference as well. and they have the best road record at 8-4. So going into James Madison is going to be tough, but they are confident in themselves going into this game as well too. Now, in the one game that they did face off in, James Madison won that game by 6. This game was at in Huntington at Marshall as well too. So, they got that working out for him. Now, James Madison, like I said before, they're 11-5. James Madison's won their last 3 in a row, and they've actually won their last their last 9 out of 11 after having a 3-game losing streak early in January. So this team is playing some of the best basketball in the conference as well too. And looking at them in the month of February, they have 1 loss. Okay. They're 4-1 other than that. So this team is actually 5-1. Sorry about that. So this team is playing good basketball. A lot of these games are close. They're winning by 7 or less, and a lot of them as well too. A lot of single-digit wins. So that they're gonna make you work for it. So I really do like James Madison going into this game tonight. I think the home team figures out a way to get the upset against a very good Marshall team. But Marshall is looking like the team that will get into the tournament out this group, even though Southern Mississippi is very good as well. But still, at the end of the day, this will be another wide open tournament. You have to look out for Old Dominion. You have to look out for Troy. And then, you also have Appalachian State kind of lingering on the outside. So this is about 7 teams that can win this conference tournament. But right now, when you look at the top, Southern Miss and Marshall really do present tough task for all these teams, but you got Louisiana and James Madison right behind them. You got 420+ win teams in this conference that's going to supply us a really fun tournament when it comes down to their conference. So let's move forward. Let's go ahead and get into possibly the most anticipated game of the day in between the number 1 team in the nation, who is going to be the Houston Cougars. And then you got Tulane, the 17-7 bubble team. And Tulane's playing some good under-the-radar basketball. And Houston really has been put in a position to where they can be the number 1 team going into the tournament this year. And I think they put Houston in this position because they feel like Houston's not going to lose a game for the rest of the season. Now, Houston has very good big 3 with Sasser, Walker, and Roberts. These guys are key to everything that happens with this team. A very, very athletic group as well too, and they do take the best possible shots as well. So this team is going to be really tough tonight, in my opinion. But Tulane is a team that has a little bit more to prove. Okay, Tulane's the number 2 team in the conference, and they've played already this year. And Houston beat them by 20 in New Orleans. So they are looking at this game and telling themselves, this is one where we got to make sure that they understand where we're coming from and that we're not going to back down from them. Now, when you lose by 20 on your home court, usually when you go into the road game, you're going to play a lot better. You already know who these guys are. You already know what you're dealing with. So I truly do feel like when you have sorry about that. When you have Wichita State, teams like this, they've won their last 5 games in a row after a quick 2-game losing streak. And, that tells us really put their head back on a swivel. So this Tulane team is a team that you do have to take a little seriously. And this is probably the only team that's going to give them issue before, they get into the tournament, because Tulane really has nothing to lose. They're playing for their tournament lives right now. Houston's already secure. They're already going to be a 1 seed. Okay. Like, we already know that. And, just at the end of the day, Tulane just has a lot more to play for. So that plus 15 is looking really good to me. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take another quick break. And when I get back, we're going to get into talking tickets. So you guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash. and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and get into this. Let's get ourselves somewhat motivated on this one, and pretty much here we are talking tickets, my favorite subject, your favorite subject. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and here we are with the best of the best, I guess, and that's going to be our pick 6 today. As I said before, I like Providence with the plus 7.5, 40-1 ticket here as well. We got James Madison with the minus 120. We got Tulane with the plus 15. NC State kind of in a tricky spot against Wake Forest, but I think that we're good enough to where they're going to get us a 6 or better win. And then you got Kennesaw State, one of the better betting teams in college basketball at this point, in my opinion. So it's hard to really bet against this team because they've been so good in the Atlantic Sun this year for us as well. So I do like Kennesaw State coming into this game with the minus 150, and Kentucky's probably playing their best basketball of the season at this point. I really do see them having their way with Florida today after what they did to Tennessee on Saturday. So it's a 40-1 ticket. Hopefully we can go ahead and get this bad boy home, but I do like the way that this ticket is working out. So 40-1. Always good odds there. You put $25 on it, you get yourself a rack back. So let's see if you can get that racky rack, and we'll go from there. All right, so we got the Dog Day Pick 4, 43-1, a little bit of the same ticket, just a little bit more value in lesser teams. We got Bellarmine plus 175. We also have Syracuse money line plus 175. We also have Boston U money line plus 140. We got High Point money line plus 140. This is going to be a 43-1 ticket, and it looks really good to me because we have teams up here that are playing at home, and we have teams that are playing on the road. They both are in what I feel are 50-50 games. So this 43-1 does show a lot of value. You put 25 on this one, once again, you get a rack or better on this bad boy. You put 20 on it, you get back 860. So, play the odds. But there it is. That's going to be our show for today. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking some more sports. I'm figuring out what we're going to talk about in my head right now. So, you guys make sure to tune in. We got this is a big week in college basketball as well, too. So you guys make sure to tune in for that. We got the NBA coming back tomorrow night as well, too. So you guys be ready for that as well, too, because we'll be having back the NBA Thursday night preview as well, too. And we'll have, if it's 5, we'll do the super high 5. If it's 3, we'll do a pick 3. But we'll have those tickets back tomorrow for you as well. And we got a huge day in college basketball as well. Most of the conferences are playing tomorrow. So, whoop, there it is. And, man, great show today. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you did as well, too. So, with that, as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles Live, and I'm your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.